Welcome back to Soccer Gaming. Back to the channel where you'll find helpful guides, tutorials, and also some Kansas City Royals Dynasty rebuild, and that's exactly what we're doing in today's episode. We are going to be covering September call-ups. We're going to call up a few guys into the majors, see how they kind of do. That means we're going to bring up some guys that are deserving of going from AA to AAA, and then we're also going to just see how our farm is doing in general at the end, and then we're also going to finish up with the playoffs. Obviously we're not making the playoffs, but I want to go through all of that. So if you'd like to watch that, stick around. So the first thing we want to talk about is how everyone's doing, who kind of deserves to come up with the September call-ups, what that's going to look like, AAA, AA, all that stuff. So I want to take a look at that before we get to the end of the season, where we're looking at kind of like final, I guess, final rosters or final whatever. So Asa Lacy and AAA, I think we'll start the year next year in the majors. I think he would be a good candidate for that. However, I don't want to bring him up now, one, because he's cold, but two, because I feel like it's kind of a waste. Like, I mean, he's going to come up next year no matter what, really. So I don't need to see him in the majors. Like, he's just going to start there. AAA wise, I think the rest of our starting pitchers will probably stay where they're supposed to. Not really going to move any up to the majors. So we have 2 spots in the majors. And so I'm not going to move any starting pitching. I might move a reliever up if I feel like. So Duffy was struggling. We had to send him down. What's he at? He's at 1 of 3 U's. So we can send him up, and then if something happens, we can always send him back down. So we're going to send him back up just because I like to have the extra pitching, which again means that a AA guy is going to have to go to AAA. Not sure who that is going to be. That's going to stay the same. This is going to stay the same. I'm not sure who that 28th guy is going to be. That's why I kind of want to look at AAA and be like, oh, who's really earned us like a chance, you know? So no catchers really. Prado, I would say, has earned a chance. Let's take a look and see where we're at in AAA right now. So we have a chance at the playoffs in AAA. So I don't want to move up a main guy that isn't going to get any playing time just to kind of move him up. So Prado will probably stay here then, especially since he's still increasing on stuff too. So we'll keep him in AAA. I feel like he's getting close. I mean, if he was a 71-ish, I would probably move him up, but a 67 is still not good enough, at least for my thought. Not really good enough for the pros. Kind of no matter what he's doing. I feel like you have to be at least a 70 or above to kind of get that chance in the pros. Second base wise, not really seeing anything here that would want to send somebody up. Maia, we played with him last time and we went 0 for 4 with him. Kind of ruined his average, but maybe we just go with another pitcher. I do think Gentry has earned it. Now, we brought him up earlier in the season and he went like 0 for 4, and then someone came back from injury or we traded or something, and then we had to move him down. So he only played like 1 game in the pros this season, does it say? Yeah. He only played 1 game, had 4 at-bats. I feel like he's been the most deserving of it, but let's keep him down for right now. We'll see how everything else shakes out here in a second, and he might be a guy that we move up, because I feel like the problem with that too is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outfielders right now. So I feel like that's just kind of overkill. He's not going to play really. I'd rather him play in AAA where they stand a chance and he can actually play, instead of bringing him up, not using him, and then, you know what I mean? So I'd rather just keep him there. And obviously we don't need more right fielders. If anything, he would come up, but again, I don't need 30,000 right fielders, even outfielders at this point. So maybe we just go for another pitcher. I think would probably just kind of be whatever, you know, let's just toss somebody up. Matt Sauer has had a decent year, 11-6, 129 innings pitched, 116 strikeouts, 3.27 ERA, and a 1.27 WHIP. That's good enough for me. Let's send him to the pros. That's going to be our roster. I'll show you the lineups and everything going into September call-ups. Again, we just called up a couple of guys in the bullpen. I feel like we're actually good. We have the outfield help. We have the midfield. I mean, the only thing would be, and we have a catcher in Salvi, so if a catcher injury happens or something, the only one I could see is like if the first base Pasquantino goes down or something, but we have Prado in AAA ready to come up, and he's hitting well all year. And again, he would be a guy I would bring up, but I don't feel like he's ever even going to play, and so what's the point of bringing him up when he's doing so good in AAA? What's the point of bringing him up and not playing? This is our lineup. We got Massey on 1, Witt 2, Pasquantino 3, Salvi 4, 5 is MJ Melendez, 6 is Hunter Renfroe, Kerry Carpenter, guy that we got from Detroit, I believe, traded for him, Furman, and then Michael Garcia. The other people that play is Zach Veen and Valdez. So those are another couple of guys that do play in the outfield. So let's go ahead and just rumble through September. We'll see how kind of things shake out. Looking at AAA, looks like they're done on the 22nd. AA is done on the 15th. So maybe we stop at like the 14th and see how everyone's doing at that point. If any of these games are going well, I'll definitely jump in and play them off. Got his shutout. Sauer in kind of a bad spot here. Let's see if he can get out of it. He cannot. We get destroyed 10-1. Alec Marsh struggling here. Medium down by 2. We're down by 2 and they want me to pitch more? 9-1. Yikes. Bubich, torn groin. That's going to be basically the season for him. So we're going to put him on the 15-day DL. Is reinstated. Keep him on the 10. And, yeah, we're going to have to figure out a pitcher. So I talked about sending up Asa Lacy, but we're going to wait until next year. So I guess who do we send up? Or do we just roll with – let's just roll with Lynch, Lyle, Singer, and Reagans through the rest of the season. Cannot. Great. Lovely. Good to see. So we've lost, what, we've lost 8 of the last 10. So we're slowly dropping. Well, I wouldn't say slowly. Like, we're dropping like a rock, but we're slowly dropping worse than the White Sox and the Tigers. And I don't even think 58. So we're the 4th worst team in the AL. And so we're like the 6th worst team right now. So that's not going good. Luckily, there's only like half a month left, so I'm sure we're gonna turn it around. That's usually what the Royals do. Is they're trash all year, and at the end they start winning a whole bunch of games, and then they lose their draft stock. And I mean, you don't want to play to lose. I understand. But as like an organization, like they make all these things, they bring up all these guys and they do good. And then it's like, well, what was the point of doing that? Because then you just lost out on service time and you lost out on getting a better draft pick. So those are some things the Royals do. I guess if I wanted to be realistic, I would do that. But I'm trying to be intelligent about running this organization and getting them in a good spot to win for years instead of just winning 1 year and then having to sell off the team. Okay, so we're down to the 14th, which is second to last day for them. So I want to take a look at their statistics before we head into the playoffs, because I believe they reset once we head into the playoffs. So I want to take a look at AA, and that way we kind of know who's on a hot streak or who I think next year should be at least get a chance at AAA. So let's just drop down to the AA and look at stuff. Maia had a good season. Maia is definitely a guy that I think could probably get to AAA next year, maybe even start out at AAA, just depending on how the roster shakes out. Gavin Cross, I'm a little worried that he's going to have to stay here for another year, just because I feel like he's not really improved that much this year, and he's only hitting 236 average. That's got to be better. I am a little worried that we're running out of potential and overall, meaning if he's a 71 next year and he's still playing like crap, like we got to move on from him, or what the next choices are. Cooler, definitely a guy starting in AAA next year, a guy that I think could possibly make it to the majors at some point next year if we need him. I really, really like what he has and what he can do. And when we played with him last episode, he did really, really well, and I really liked his pitching repertoire and everything. So definitely a guy that is going to be starting in AAA. We'll see if he has a spot at some point in the season next year for a major league start. Rocaforte or something, whatever it's called, 265 from him. Probably a guy that does play AAA a little bit next year. Schwellenbach, a guy that is pretty good, but I'm worried that his pitch selection isn't going to be good enough. So off season, I know we're working with him on getting another pitch, so we'll see what he can come up with and see if he can get something cooking and hopefully help him later on in his career. Caden Wallace, probably staying down in AA, a guy that we want to be good, but he's just not showing it in his stats, and obviously you can see his attributes here not increasing very fast. So definitely a guy we're going to have to figure it out or ship out. Blake Walters, 3.54 is pretty good. We'll have to see how the starting pitchers end up. Blake Walters is a guy that is working on the offseason on an extra pitch for him. He's only got 3 right now. I think a curveball of some sort would really, really benefit him. We'll see what they can cook up for him. Blake Mitchell, I want to move to AAA. I think he's increasing, but the 235 average is a little worrisome. We'll have to see. He might start in AA next year, and if he kind of starts off hot, or if he's hitting 260 or above, then maybe we move him up to the AAA status. But definitely a guy like we're building around him, so we want him to take his time. We want him to learn. We want him to get better, and we have a couple of years to do that. But I also don't want to wait around too long, and he's 24 and only a 71 overall, and then we run into problems of hitting potential and all that stuff. So Frank Mazzucato had a good year, probably up to AAA next year. Again, another guy that we're going to try to push in the offseason to get him another pitch, because I just don't think he doesn't have the stuff enough to make it too long. So if you look at his innings pitched, 155 innings pitched, 167 hits given up, his whip 1.41. Now you see his ERA is 3.6, and that doesn't look bad. 3.6 isn't awful. 3.6 isn't good, but I look at his innings pitched, and he's given up more hits than he's pitched in innings. He has more strikeouts than he has innings pitched, but he's just giving up way too many hits. And I know his whip is I know his ERA is lower for how many hits he gives up. Basically what I'm saying is he gets hit too much. He doesn't have the stuff to be able to do it. So he really, really needs to work on his breaking pitches. And if I remember right, his break is really, really good. He has he has a really good curveball. And I think a slider, a slurve or something would really help him out going into next year. Rivertown, 264 is not awful, but again, he's a D guy. Potential, I haven't seen a ton. I mean, look at his defensive stuff is going down. Probably not a guy that's going to be making it up to AAA anytime soon. Peyton Wilson's been really, really good recently. He's really been killing it. He's up to 270. Could be a guy at second base that hits AAA. The 270 average, 11 stolen bases, that's all good stuff to go. I think once he's done with his injury, he will probably go up to AAA at some point next year. John Wimmer, a guy that we traded for. Glad to see he's up to his C potential now. He's been playing really, really well. 239 is not great, but he has been getting better. Like, I think when I got him, he was 211 maybe. So the average is creeping up, and that's good to see. But definitely some guys like even Peyton Wilson above him currently. Tyler Cropley, I wish I could say that the 288 was enough to get him to AAA, and it might be. I mean, he had a good season, but I think we'll have to see what happens next season. So the problem with this is he's a deep potential. He's 28 age. He's probably not going to play, but the fact that he had a really good season, but he's only increasing like 1 or 2 is telling me like he's pretty close to his potential already. So probably not going to be a guy that we move. Jeremy De La Rosa would be a guy I would love to move, but I just haven't. 250 isn't enough for me. I think 260s next year would probably move him up in the center field realm. Ben Kurdna, a guy that kind of struggled when we used him. I think he's good, and I think he would definitely benefit from a fifth pitch, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that's ready for AAA starting out. CJ Alexander, a guy that I do think has earned a AAA spot, but I don't know if he'll get it. It just kind of depends on how the roster shakes out at third base. Will Klein definitely earns AAA, and I think next year he will be our AAA starter. He's had a very, very good season in AA. 47 saves, only 4 blown saves for him. He's done very, very well in AA. Ramon Ramirez, 206 average, not great. I know he's 18. He's growing. He'll stay in AA. Shroom, AA guy, probably just 26, maybe AAA. I don't know. He's actually increasing a lot more than I thought he would at 26. He's hitting 266 average. That's pretty good. Diego Hernandez, John Gray stays. Diego Hernandez, kind of a guy that, we're trying to figure out what he's going to do. If he's going to be better, if he's going to hit better than 263, then maybe he'll go to AAA. Vaz, 229, not great. These guys are all D potentials who just didn't have the greatest seasons. He's only pitched 9 innings. He's only pitched 9. And this guy. So that's what AA looks like for us. If we want to go look at AAA real quick, let's look at AAA. I know AAA is not over, but they're getting close to being over. So Blanco, he would come up if injury occurred. He has never really done anything in the pros, though. I like what he has, but honestly, we have way too many outfielders right now. Maybe once the offseason hits, and if we can get a couple of trades or something done, moving on from a couple of our outfielders, then maybe Blanco finds a spot. Because he's actually had a really good season. He just hasn't been able to do it in the pros. Asa Lacy probably going to be our starter in our MLB lineup next year. I really like what he's done this year at 368. The strikeouts, the innings pitched, the hits, everything has looked pretty good. The whip 1.29 is okay. The 3.68 is okay. I really like what he can do, and we pitched with him a little bit, and I really, really like his pitch repertoire, everything with him. So he's definitely probably moving up to the pros, unless for some reason we can find 4 starters that are better than him. A couple like Singer and Reagans will probably automatics. The other ones I'm still kind of moving around on, like Lynch and stuff. All of that, I'll kind of see how that shakes out. Nate Eaton has had a pretty meh season, 237, not great for him. Jake Fox has been injured a lot. Only 241 at bats, and when he does bat, he's a contact guy. He's not going to hit home runs, but he will get on base and steal some bases for you. Nick Pratto has had himself an amazing season, 279 for him, 11 home runs, 73 RBIs is really good, but he's got Pasquantino ahead of him, and he's only a 67, whereas Pasquantino, I believe, is a 77, so he's got a lot of room to make up, but he's doing really good. I'm excited about what he's done this season, and I think that's only going to boost him for the future. Mason Barnett, not pitching well, 5.18 ERA, 3.78 from Bolin, who's probably never going to see. It's one of those things. If injuries happen, he comes up, but he's not going to make it because he's really, really good or something like that. Same thing with this guy. If injuries happen, he might come up, kind of just a filler role. Alex Klemny. Now, Alex has done really, really good earlier in the season. He struggled as of late. The 40 innings pitched is... it kind of shows you that it's, I guess, smaller sample size. He started 8 games, 2-2, 40 innings pitched. The whip 1.43 is high, 4.20 ERA is high, 39 strikeouts of 40 innings is pretty average. He's a guy that I'm excited about, but he's definitely not ready for the pros yet. But a good season, a good growing season for him. If, look at those 3s and 4s and everything. So I'm excited about that. Tyler Gentry, a guy that I think has earned a role in the Major League squad, but every time I bring him up, he struggles, or we just have so many outfield spots. It's just he would never really see playing time. But again, maybe in this offseason, we move around some guys in the outfield, and he has a spot. Kasevich, we traded for, and I believe when we traded for him, he was low 200s. He's up to 242 now. Just kind of an average guy as far as like how his season went, but you see the attributes increasing, which is really, really good to see there. That means he's getting better. It's also a good thing at second base. We can kind of have some of that infield help. Nick Lofton, a guy that he's going to kind of fight that spot for. He had 259 this year, 14 home runs, 52 RBIs, and 13 steals. Comparatively, I mean, but he also has almost 300 more bats. Yeah, he has over 300 bats, more bats. So these numbers are kind of skewed when you look at that, comparing them. Morales, 205. That's not very good, but at least he grew up a little bit this season. I'd like to see more 4s and 5s there. The 2s and 3s are like kind of the average growth. I want to see some good growth out of these young potential guys, but he is a guy that we look forward to seeing how he can do next year. Logan Porter, kind of just a filler role at catcher. Same thing with Joe Rock, filler role. Tolbert, filler role. Zerpa, I would say filler role. He's been okay this year. He's a guy that can play in the pros. However, I feel like he hasn't really earned it at a 2.97. A 1.25 whip is pretty good. That's not too bad. He just gives up a lot of home runs. Tucker Bradley, again, outfielder, kind of just a role there. Devin Mann's actually not done too bad, 286. The deep potential and 27 years of age throws me off a little bit. He's more or less just a guy that's kind of hitting in AAA just to kind of fill up a role and fill up a spot there. Austin Nola at catcher, same thing. Kind of just there to fill up a role. And then we got our relief pitchers who none of them have really done great. All the low ERAs are low innings pitched. Dipoto is probably our best at 245 through 33 innings. Yeah, because some of these are not good. So AAA was fine. We'll have to see. I think they're making it to the playoffs. I say I know they're making the playoffs. I don't know. They might not make it. But I think our AAA was good this year. I think we grew a lot. I think there's a couple of guys like Asa Lacy that will be coming up. I think there might be another one or two people in here that could see the starting roster next year, but we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out and how the rosters shake out in the off season. So that's going to pretty much do it for AAA and AA. Now we're just going to roll through and see basically how our majors finish is up. I guess they do have a whole nother week, AAA does, but I'm not going to look at the stats then because they won't change that much in just a week. So I'm going to go sim through this, and if we find something intriguing to get in, like a no-hitter or something, we'll definitely jump into it and try to complete it. But if not, I will see you when September's over. So just as I said it, Pasquantino, I said it unless Pasquantino gets hurt. And you know what happens? Pasquantino gets hurt. How could I have ever guessed? So at this point, I guess we just bring up, I think Prado's earned it, so it just is weird to bring him up for like 4 games when he could be used in AAA. But I think he's earned it. I think that it's kind of unfair to keep him down when he has the ability to play in the MLB. So we're going to move him up. So the season has ended, and we're going to take a look at the standings. I'm not 100% sure. I just know we lost, obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in the end. Taking a look at that's not the standings we want the all standings, right? So we did finish last in the division with 61 wins, 101 losses, and 56 for them. So on the American League side, we finished second to last, and of everything, second to last, right? Remember? Yeah, 61. So the National League finished. So we got essentially the second pick, right? 61. And then the National is 62. Yeah. So we finished second to last, which, I mean, it's not great, but I mean, if you're going to lose, I mean, you might as well lose, right? Lose 7 in a row to finish the season. Sad thing is we didn't do the work. Like, looking at this, like, the runs against isn't bad. It's mostly the runs scored. Because, like, looking at this, they gave up 809 runs. So they gave up 39 more runs than us, but they also scored almost 100 more runs than us. So that's, look at us. 242 average, 388 slugging, 299 on base. Fielding was fine, but ERA 4.64, that's not good. It's just not a good season, but I mean, if you're not gonna make the playoffs and you're gonna be in the bottom barrel, you might as well get to the very bottom. So that being said, let's take a look and see everything as far as the roster goes and see how we kind of ended up here. So the starting pitching, Cole Reagans, 375. Very happy with what he did. Obviously, we gave him that extended contract for a 5-year deal, and I think we saved a lot of money there doing that. But he's our ace. He's our guy, moving us into the future. 375 ERA is good. 1.39 WHIP, could be lower. Strikeouts 192 to 72 walks, really really good. There, 11 and 14 again. It just comes down to not getting much help when it comes to the whole team aspect. Brady Singer had himself actually ended up being kind of a bad year for him. He actually at one point was in the 3.8s, 3.9s. He made it almost all the way to 5 ERA. So he really struggled the second half of the season, which is it's not funny, but I remember talking about giving him an extended contract and being like, well, he wants $10 million a year, and I don't feel like right now he's worth $10 million a year, and you can see it there in the stats. 493 on the ERA, the 1.44 WHIP, the walks. Actually, the walks to strikeout ratio is really good. I think he just got hit too much, to be honest with you. Daniel Lynch, not bad. 421. That's pretty average. Pitched a lot of innings. 209 innings is quite a bit, so that was helpful. The 126 WHIP is really good. He must have just given up a lot of home runs. 29 home runs is quite a bit. So yeah, just gave up a ton of home runs there this season. The walks and strikeouts aren't great, but the walks are pretty high. But we're okay with it. Bubic had struggled. He at the end of the year he ended up getting injured, but he kind of struggled all year long. Jordan Lyles, and I'll skip the AAAs and AAs because obviously their stats reset and you can't really see what they did during the season. And right now we're just caring about the MLB and kind of how they did throughout the season. Jordan Lyles pitched pretty well for us. I think he struggled there at the end because I think at one point he had a low 4 or a high 3 ERA. So he ended up struggling at the end of the season. Alec Marsh got moved up, I believe, in September or around that time. So he's, the 53 innings isn't too much to crack about. And then that's starting pitchers, the relievers. Schreiber actually pitched really, really well for us. 297 from him. Even though the win-loss didn't look like it, he actually pitched pretty well. The 126 WHIP. Carlos Hernandez actually struggled more than I thought he would. Well, 26 innings pitched. He's the setup guy. How many holds did he have? 23 holds isn't bad. 3 blown saves. That's not good. So he didn't have an awful year, but not a great year for him. Josh Taylor is not a great ERA. Tyler Duffy really struggled. Only 6 innings pitched though. 14 from McMillan. Then we go to the closers. Brent struggled. MacArthur struggled. I thought MacArthur was really going to be our closer, but he just kind of seemed to struggle. I mean, the 29 saves to 4 blown saves. I mean, that's not. I would say it's not bad. Like, it's bad. A 5 ERA seems inflated for how many he pitched almost 70 innings. So he pitched a lot when he wasn't in save situations. So it's kind of hard to be like, well, he's not our closer. I mean, he didn't have a great year, but I can't write off that he's not our closer yet. But I do think that Will Klein will get up to AAA next year, and I think that he has a real shot in a couple of years to be our closer. Catchers, Freddie Freeman, pretty good year. 267 for a catcher is just kind of, that's kind of what you want for a catcher. The 14 home runs is nice. 59 RBIs, a couple steals as well. Salvi, I mean, the average is atrocious, but we kind of have him on the team mostly for the home runs. He had 33, which is good. 89 RBIs for him. Obviously, we'd want the average to be a little bit higher, but right now, we're trying to live out the glory days with Salvador. I think he's earned it. I think he's earned to ride off into the sunset, making $20 million the next couple of years. I mean, look at this. Look at these awards. He's one of the best catchers, if not the best catcher in Royals history. It's tough. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame as an all-around Hall of Fame, like MLB Hall of Fame. He's for sure easily in the Hall of Fame of the Royals. he just, I don't know. He's just been so good for so long, and he's really been the backbone of this team. So that's again why we're paying him the $20 million until he retires. Like he's earned it. He's done his due diligence. He won World Series. World Series MVP in 2015. I mean, he's just been amazing. So first base, Vinny Pasquantino. 285. Love to see that. He did pretty good this year. He's just not a power guy in general. He's not like a really heavy powered guy, especially against lefties. Does not hit for much power at all. So it's good to see him get the contacts up. It's good to see him increase everywhere else, as we're expecting him to be our first baseman of the present, I guess, not the future. He's 26. Prado, again, another guy that could kind of push him for that spot. Second base, Massey. An okay year, 241. He's known more as a defensive guy, not necessarily the offensive side. He's done okay. 241 is one of his best seasons. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see that raised to 260, 265 would be really good, but that's not really why we have him on the team. We have him mostly kind of for that defensive role in the midfield. Third base, Maikel Garcia really struggled most of the season, and I think actually at the end really kind of turned it around for a 245 average. I know several times in the season he was around the 220 average, 230 average, so 245 ending is not awful. For a whole year it was bad, but for the ending he kind of turned it around there. Eaton got called up at the end just to kind of fill a spot, so he didn't really play much. And so that's why he doesn't have any MLB stats. Bobby Witt having a super down year, only 14 home runs, 68 RBIs, 31 stolen bases is good, but the 253 average is not good. And wow, he dropped a lot when it came to power on that left side. He really, really struggled this year to get it going, and so hopefully we could turn around next year and get those stats back up, because the 253 average is not good. Stolen bases was down, but again, he wasn't on base as much. On base percentage 319 last year, 303 this year. Just not good for Bobby Witt. Left fielders, MJ Melendez, 238, not good. Not what we want to see out of the quote unquote future left fielder. He's good when it comes to his arm in the outfield, and it's good to have him. But he's really got to turn this hitting around. He's really got to start hitting over 250 if he wants to stay on the team. I understand that, compared to past, this is his best season yet. But, come on, MJ. We need to be seeing, 250s on the low end. And especially at left field. You could get left fielders that have good arms that can hit for a lot more, average or power than he can. So, something we want to see moving forward. Center fielder, Kyle Isbell, 251 average. For him, again, he's kind of we're just looking to kind of get on base. We're looking for you to be able to play outfield, play defense well, and that's what he kind of brings. Definitely not a guy that we're like, oh, this is our future. That's supposed to be Gavin Cross. Well, hopefully he can turn it around as he hit 2-something in Double-A this year. And then in right field has pretty much everyone else on our team up there. Kerry Carpenter, 237, so he kind of struggled there at the end as well. I think he was hitting 222 when we traded for him, so he kind of struggled there as well. He actually increased quite a bit overall level. I think when we traded for him, he was a 77 or something, so he actually increased quite a bit in the overall category. Hunter Renfroe, pretty much just struggled all year long. He did get injured, and he was at one point hitting high threes, 350 something, and then he got injured for a couple months, and then he came back and got injured again for a couple months, and then came back, and then I think he got injured again there at the end. So really struggled to stay healthy, so those numbers are kind of eh. Nelson Velasquez did play all season, I believe, but he did not play well. 221 average for him, 9 home runs on a guy that, look at those power numbers. He needs to be hitting more home runs than that. And then Duran Blanco got called up at the end there just to kind of fill spots because I think Hunter Renfroe got injured, and so Blanco had to come up and take a spot. Zach Veen we traded for, and he's kind of going to be that he could be the future right fielder. He could be our guy moving forward. We just kind of have to see how he plays out. 229 average this year, not great, but he did see some playing time, and it looks like he got that rookie status. So that all being said, let's take a look and see if we have anybody winning awards this year. Looks like the MVP of this year will be Yordan Alvarez. Not excited or not surprised by that. 48 home runs, 137 RBIs. It's pretty damn good numbers from over here. Cy Young goes to Jacob deGrom. As the Rangers, 281 at ERA, 206 strikeouts, 21-5 record. The batting title goes to Juan Soto, 358 average. Gee, mini Christmas. That's big. Reliever of the year, Andres Munoz from the Mariners gets that with a 1.41 ERA, 40 saves, and 59 strikeouts. Rookie of the year goes to Parker Meadows of the Detroit, so they'll get an extra pick there going into next year. So it's good to see there. The Hank Aaron Award for the AL, it goes to 358 Juan Soto. He hasn't won it before? No, he hasn't. So Juan Soto winning the Hank Aaron Award. The Gold Glover for the pitchers is Michael Lorenzen. The Gold Glover for the catchers is Jonah Heim. Not really surprised by that. But honestly, like looking at it, should he have won? Probably be because he's in the playoffs. Do I think that Freddie Fermin had a better year? Absolutely. 109 assists compared to 95, 1398 on the putouts. Just a much better year. I mean, the fielding percentage is the exact same. I would argue that Fermin should have won that, but I'm not gonna take it to the grave. Anthony Rizzo wins it for the Yankees and brings home a Gold Glove at first base for him. Nicky Lopez, the old Royals player, ends up with the Gold Glove at second base. Had a good year. Maikel Garcia wins for the Gold Glove for a third baseman. That's surprising. Maikel Garcia struggling hitting, but obviously very good at fielding the ball at third base. He had a good year. 71 putouts and 216 assists. Good to see us winning at least something. Gold Glove shortstop goes to Anthony Volpe. Left field goes to Varsho. He had himself a good year there in left field. Kwan coming in second, could have won it for the third year, unable to do so. Kevin Kiermaier, looks like all Blue Jays here in the outfield. Kevin Kiermaier wins center fielder again. And then right field goes to Adolis Garcia in right field. Then we go to the Silver Slugger. Designated hitter Yordan Alvarez. Obviously, he's just a monster right now. I don't know what happened to Shohei, if he struggled or whatever, but Yordan is just always going to be a GOAT, especially when it comes to DH. Catcher, Yanier Diaz. Freddie Fermin comes in second. He had a better year. 31 home runs, 83 RBIs, much better year than Freddie Fermin, so I'm not going to argue that. Silver Slugger for the first baseman goes to Spencer Torkelson. So he had a good year. 45 home runs, 118 RBIs. You can't beat that. Jose Altuve, 313 average, 44 home runs, 115 RBIs. A good year for him. Gets the Silver Slugger at second base. Silver Slugger at third base goes to Jose Ramirez, 268 average, 31 home runs, and almost 100 RBIs. Silver Slugger for shortstop, Corey Seager. Wins that one, 306 average, 44 home runs, 133 RBIs. A good year, really good year for him. Rangers must have been killing it. Silver Slugger on the outfield, Juan Soto. Mike Trout wins it in center field, and Alex Verdugo gets it in right field, beating out his teammate, who I think probably deserves it more. Well, actually, no. Verdugo, 298, 29 home runs. The home runs number is a little low, but he has way more RBIs. So Verdugo wins it in right field. We will see the postseason, World Series, all that stuff here in a little bit. I'm just going to simply go through. Oh, that's why, because Shohei's in the NL. That's why he wasn't winning AL awards. Anyways, National League, most MVP was Spencer Strider. Impressive. He obviously gets the Cy Young. If he won the most valuable player, he's obviously getting the Cy Young there as well. Yelich gets the batting title with 308 average, 27 home runs, and 82 RBIs. Reliever of the year goes to De Los Santos of San Diego, 43 saves, 1.24 ERA, 40 strikeouts. Very good. Rookie of the year goes to Amaga. He's going to get it for the Cubs and give them another first. It's called the first round pick, I think, but it's like a pick after the first round. It's one of those compensatory or whatever rounds. So the Cubs will get another pick there. Shohei wins the Hank Aaron Award. Gold Glovers, the pitcher is Suarez. Alvarez winning it for catcher. Tellez winning it for first base. Second base goes to Jeff McNeil. Third base is Nolan Arenado. Swanson wins it for the how manyth year? Well, at least 3 years. Swanson has won it. So he's won a Gold Glove, 3 years in a row for him. Ian Happ winning it for the left fielder. Center fielder goes to Michael A. Taylor. Leaves the Royals and becomes a God tier center fielder for the Pirates. And then right field goes to Corbin Carroll. So impressive to see him win that one. The Silver Slugger DH goes to Shohei Ohtani, 293 average, 38 home runs, and 135 RBIs. Silver Slugger catcher goes to Will Smith. Matt Olson wins it for first base, wins it 2 years in a row. Nolan Gorman wins it for second base. Third base goes to Manny Machado for fourth base. Shortstop goes to Trey Turner. He won it 2 years ago. Wins it again this year with a 300 average, 80 RBIs, and 25 home runs. Silver Slugger left field, or no, just outfield in general. They get 3. Okay. Anyway, Corbin Carroll wins it there. Acuna wins it for center field, and then right field goes to Adam Duvall. Then we look at postseason MVP, World Series MVP, all that stuff will be here in a little bit. So those are all of the winners. So we do actually end up with a little bit of something. Michael Garcia wins the Gold Glove for third baseman in the AL. So good to see some hardware coming home to Kansas City. Now, the last thing we're going to go over before we touch the World Series is going to be looking at the top prospects. The top prospects I wanted to take a look at. I forgot to at the beginning of the season, so I apologize. It kind of threw off a little bit. What I wanted to do, look at it at the beginning of the season, look midway through when we're like getting ready to draft, and then look at it at the very end and see kind of where we are at throughout the season. So I missed the first one, so I didn't think it was smart to do it in the second one. So I'm definitely going to do it at the end of the season. And taking a look, Blake Mitchell is our first guy at number 11 for us. So it shows MLB ETA 2025, which I believe is going to be next year. Because MLB ETA, we're into 2024. So it should be next year, and all these guys should be this year. Obviously, the MLB ETA I wouldn't say isn't realistic, but it's not as realistic. It goes off a lot of things, not based on what the actual roster is showing. So he's at number 11. Our next guy is all the way down here. 50. Oh, he was in the 50s. He's now in 61. Brando Maia, a guy we traded for, got on our team. We're excited for him, and he had a really good season, actually. There was a point where he was hitting over 260, I think, in the minors. So he was doing pretty good this year, seeing him at 61. And then I thought we had one or two more. Ramon Ramirez at 84 overall, 18-year-old catcher. And that's going to do it. So we have 3 on the top 100. And if you're thinking, oh, you guys are rebuilding, how is your farm so terrible? Well, we're working on it, okay? These were mostly set up. Obviously, if I didn't trade, then we would only have 2 on this list. But I got Maia from a trade. And obviously you could see that I didn't trade and get all these crazy prospects. So that's another thing to kind of look at, moving forward. Now, let's take a look at our organization and how everything's looking, and we'll look at like the MLB ETAs and what I actually think. So our number 1 is Blake Mitchell, our catcher, 19 years of age. He had a pretty good year in Double-A. I mean, it was low 200s, I think it was what he was hitting. But look at that. +3, +4s, those are good. +5s, very, very good to see, especially he's 19 years of age, already a 64 overall. Number 2 guy is Brando Maia. He did pretty good as well. +7s on the contact left and adding a +9 on the power left. So a huge breakout season for him. Vision went up, discipline went up, clutch went up, all those numbers went up. So exactly what you want to see, especially when they're 18 years old, already a 68 overall. Definitely a guy that will be in the AAA. Both of these guys will probably go AAA. Ramirez probably stays in AA just because he's not going to see the playing time. If he goes to AAA with Blake Mitchell, he won't see the playing time. So we'll probably keep him in AA since he's a year lower. MLB ETAs, Maia, probably next year we'll see the pros. He probably will see pros next year at some point. Probably not as a shortstop. Looks like he plays a lot of outfield, which, if you know anything about us, we have a ton of outfield guys. So we'll have to see what we could do to move them around and kind of do that. But he's obviously got to perform in AAA before he ever sees a call up to the majors. Frank Mazzucato, our number 1 pitcher, 20 years of age, AA, had an okay season. 2026 seems realistic as well. Alex Klemny, 18 years of age. I don't think he'll be up there that soon. I think he's been growing really, really well, but I don't think that that's a realistic MLB ETA for him. I don't see him up in the majors next year, but he's doing pretty good in AAA. Maybe he does deserve a call up. We'll have to see. Blake Walters, he's got, again, he's one of the guys that we talked about that needs some additional pitches added in the offseason, so hopefully he can get into the cage and everything and get some additional help there with pitching. Tony Anderson, our third base guy, and I believe is this a draft? No, it was not a draft guy. No, not a draft guy. I guess the draft guys obviously are not in here yet. It's not the end of the season, but he had an okay season in Single A. He got some, just getting better. That's all we want. Kuehler, a guy that really, really came on late. Played well all season. And, look at that. 1 game, 9 strikeouts, 0 ERA. That's exactly what he did this year. He grew a lot. You can see the potential went up as well. He did really, really well this year and pitched really, really well. And he's a guy I actually see coming up and possibly being in the pros next year. You see the 2025. I think that's very realistic for his MLB ETA. Caden Wallace did not play well this year. ETA this year would have been trash for him. He did not play well at all this whole year, and you could see it in those stats, barely going up in hitting. I mean, the fielding and everything went up, which was good, but the hitting is really what kept him back. Kurdna, we're expecting more from him, but he's got a few years before we're worried about, whether or not he's going to make it. 2027, I would say, is a realistic probably for the ETA. He'll probably be 25, 26 before he looks to be in the majors. Morales, kind of just another good, he's growing. He's getting better. Good to see. Gavin Cross, bad year for him. Want to really see him take a next step because, we're waiting for him. He's going to be our center fielder of the future. We're waiting for him to get there. And right now he's kind of struggling. Asa Lacy will be in the pros next year. He will definitely make the MLB roster on opening day, unless something like catastrophic happens, an injury or something like that. He's definitely earned a spot to try to pitch in the major leagues. Jeremy De La Rosa, a guy that he had an okay year. He grew up a lot. You see the hitting numbers and the power numbers going up quite a bit. But he's just kind of growing as we expect him to at 22 years of age, probably another 25, 26 guy. So MLB ETA 2026, 2027 would be more realistic. Another center fielder, 2024, not going to happen. Yeah, he did play well this year, if I remember right. He did have a pretty good season, but definitely struggled some of the season to where I didn't even take him up to AAA. Jake Fox, injuries happened to him. Yep, still out with an injury. So he had some injuries this year to deal with, but he had a pretty good season as well. Kasevich injured for some of the season, but had an okay season. Saw some of the plus fives on the hitting and contact. Good to see there. Schwallenbach, another guy that I think could have it. He played very well this year. I think it was low 3 ERA to finish the season off, but he's definitely a guy that's going to have to get into the offseason program and get some additional pitches on him because he just doesn't have enough stuff to just throw 94 and 84 from his pitches. He really needs to add something else to his arsenal if he wants to continue to go up that board. John Wimmer, a guy we traded for at second base, was not very good starting out, but he actually ended up turning it around in in AA. You see the +5, the +4, and discipline. He's getting better, which is good to see from him at 19 years of age. And then our last guy is Mason Barnett, a guy that just kind of had another blank year. He did his job, he did well, but 23 years of age, you would hate to. He's definitely going to either need to come up in a couple of years or, going to have to shop him out. So I wanted to show you kind of the top 20 where we stand. We have a lot of C potential guys, which doesn't say much doesn't say good things about our farm. If we see potential guys in here, that just means that, the rest of our farm's not very good. We got some B's, we got a couple of A's in here. Like, we aren't an A, a B, and a B. So our top three are an A, a B, a B. And it's just, you want to see more A's in here. You want to see more B's in here. You don't want to see any C's at all whatsoever when it comes to your organization and the farm. But that's where we stand right now. I think we're going to add a lot in the off season. You saw the guys in the last video, I believe, or last video or the video before, of what we drafted and what their potentials were and everything like that. I think it was last episode you saw all the potentials and everything. And so we're adding a very good draft class to it. I'm sure a couple of them will pop on that list when the season starts in 2025. But let's go ahead. Let's just jump into it. Let's see who we got for the playoff bracket. We got Texas, Seattle, Cleveland, Baltimore. The Yankees got the first round bye. Number 1 seed, Houston, first round bye, 2 seed. Other side, NL. Phillies, Arizona, St. Louis, San Francisco. The Dodgers are the number 2 seed on the NLDS side. They got the first round bye. And then Atlanta, the number 1 overall, the number 1 seed on the NL side, gets a bye there as well. Going into this, I'm just going to make predictions off the top of my brain. Texas wins over Seattle. I'll go Baltimore over Cleveland. Then I'll actually go Baltimore over Houston. And I think I'd really like to take Texas over the Yankees. I just don't think I think the Yankees are just too good. Like, the Yankees move on, and then the Yankees beat Baltimore to get into the World Series. I think on the NL side, I'm gonna go Arizona there. I'm gonna go with a little bit of an upset there. I think St. Louis moves on, and then I think Atlanta and the Dodgers go at it, and I think it's Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series. And I'm just going to throw it out and say the Dodgers win it all. So let's go ahead and continue to go through here and see how this all plays out. Because, we're not in it. Might as well enjoy something here. Seattle wins Game 1. Arizona Game 1 on the NL side. And Seattle moves on. 2-0 sweep of Texas. Really surprised by that. Texas has a lot of good players on it. Obviously, they won the World Series last year in real life. So you would expect them to kind of be. And I think they've only really gotten better and older, and I feel like this was their year to win again, but not able to do so. Seattle moves on 2-0, deserving for them. And on the other side, Arizona moves on 2-0 over Philly, which I called that one. Cleveland beats Baltimore side. Baltimore moving on. So the AL side, I messed up completely. The NL side, I had St. Louis moving on. Let's see if they do. They do. So the NL side is perfect. The AL side is completely broken. Now, Seattle and the Yankees. Going the Yankees here, and then I'll go Houston here on this left side. I think just Houston's really, really good. On the NL side, we got Atlanta and Arizona. I'm going Atlanta and the Dodgers. So going through here, Seattle. Wow, Seattle's on the run. Seattle's the team that there's like one every year. Yep, that is. It's Seattle. They're going to get to the World Series and they're going to lose. That's fine. I'm not, Cleveland. So both of the wild card games, sweep their wild card games, and then beat the top division performers in the Yankees and Houston. So the AL side is a complete slugfest between Cleveland and Seattle. And Arizona bring upset. Wow. So this is full of upsets. So none of the top 2 seeds from either side make it in. The NL side has Atlanta and the Dodgers. They're both out in the NLDS. And the AL side had the Yankees a 1 seed and Houston a 2 seed, both of them losing in the ALDS. So we've got complete upsets. So it's actually going to be a fun World Series because somebody's going to win it that wasn't supposed to. My guess, honestly, I'm going to go Seattle and I see St. Louis is up 2-0. I'm going to go Seattle and Arizona here in the World Series. And every time I've said something, that's not come true. So I'm sure it'll be Cleveland and St. Louis. Seattle 2-2, 3-2. Remember, you got to win. Okay, so the NL side, Arizona 3-3. St. Louis next game wins it and will be heading to the World Series. And it's going to be Cleveland and Arizona. So I called Arizona. I called Seattle, Cleveland, and Arizona. The fact that Cleveland is in this right now, let's take a look at Cleveland and Arizona just so you guys can understand what the rosters look like. Because Cleveland's not good. So, I mean, they're good enough, obviously, but they're not a great team. They don't have this stacked team. You know what I mean? Shane Bieber is their one. Jose Ramirez still there. Emmanuel Clase. Gavin Williams, 3.91 ERA for him right now. Josh Naylor hitting well. Bebe, Tristan McKenzie, 3.21. That's good to see from him. Quan, 2.65. So they're not hitting specifically well. They're just pitching well, looks like. That's what it looks like, is they're not really hitting well. They're just, 442 is pretty good. So, yeah, maybe they are doing a little bit better than I thought they would. Can I jump into... I'm just going to send to it. I just want to take a look. I'm not going to play the game. I just want to take a look at rosters here and see what we got. So, as far as the rotation goes, Bieber, 237 right now through the playoffs, 4-0 start. Good start from him. Gavin Williams, 3.91 ERA, 2.1 start for him. Pepe, 7.20, 3.21 from Tristan McKenzie. Logan Allen has not have to been used. Well, at least it doesn't have a win-loss. He's probably been used. Bullpen's good though. Bullpen has not given up many runs. I'm sure looking at this that the bullpen's only given up about 2 or 3 runs all postseason long, that's huge. That's huge to see. Then hitters, Quan, 265, not good from Jimenez. 275 from their 3. Jose Ramirez hitting 340, which is good. So it's their bottom half is really where they're hitting well. It's their bottom half, and like Floral being in center field, so he's right here too. True Waters, traded him to Cleveland. He has a chance of winning a World Series with him this year. But yeah, Ramirez, Laureano, Fry, Waters not good. Adam Frazier killing it right now. He was a Royal, so they are definitely using. It's good to see that he's doing okay after we traded him. It sucks that bye, but now you made 2 World Series. Congratulations to you. And then Bo Naylor is their catcher, all hitting pretty well so far. Let's take a look at the other side in the Diamondbacks. For their pitching, they got Jordan Montgomery, a huge addition for them this year. He's doing pretty good. 4.09, but a 2.96 ERA throughout the year. Gallen pitching 4.80, so it looks like they're kind of struggling pitching. 1.86, 2.38, 4.50. Merrill Kelly to 2.19. Their bullpen looks trash. Castro, Sewald, Ginkle, all these guys have been blasted. So it looks like they're either losing games when they're losing like 11-0, and they're winning like 2-0 games, or I don't know how it's all working out, but not great when it comes to their pitching staff. They got good pitchers, like they got Montgomery, they got Gallen, and even Eduardo Rodriguez is not a bad pitcher. So they've got good pitchers. They just haven't been playing well. Then we get to the hitters, which I'm sure is where they're making their money, basically. So 3.86 from their leadoff, good to see. Marte, 2.07. 3.45 from Carroll. He's having an amazing year. What a madman he's been. I think he even won a couple of stuff this year. Yeah, he won All-Star Game, a Gold Glove, and the Silver Slugger Award this year. Last year he won the Rookie of the Year Award. So, he's just cashing in on the awards right now. He's hitting 345. He's probably, if they win, he'll probably be a World Series MVP. 263 for Jock, 263 for Christian Walker. Gurriel Jr., 263, 273 from Eduardo Suarez. Gabriel Montero, 352 from your catcher. It's good to see. Alex Thomas, 273. So, honestly, do pretty good when it comes down to... their big hitters are making big plays. So, honestly, out of the statistics of the playoffs, Cleveland, clearly the better team. The better players, I would say, would go to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, it'll be an interesting World Series here, because I feel like both teams are good in their own way. So, we'll see which way wins out. Arizona wins Game 1. Cleveland wins Game 2. Game 3 goes to Cleveland. Game 4 goes to Cleveland. So Cleveland could clutch it here. And they will. The Cleveland Guardians have defeated the Diamondbacks in the 2024 World Series. Now the question is, does it show us who won? The World Series MVP was Josh Naylor. Huge for him. Huge. Postseason MVP for the National League was Corbin Carroll. Again, I said if they won the World Series, he would win it. And then Josh Naylor on the other side. So Josh Naylor coming through big for them. Let's see what he did in the World Series. I guess I can't see now. But anyway, Cleveland. It's weird to see that an AL Central team. First of all, AL Central is probably the worst division in baseball right now in real life and on the game. So to see Cleveland, I know that they won our league standing wise, but to see them go all the way to the World Series and win is crazy. Especially looking at the roster. I mean, we went through it and it's not. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's not like 90s everywhere. I mean, they dropped to the 70s pretty quick. But I got to say, shout out to Cleveland for the two guys that started as Royals this year, and Drew Waters. And Drew Waters, Scott Barlow he's not now, but he was a Royal. Scott Barlow and then Adam Frazier, both starting the year as Royals and finishing the season as World Series champions. Congratulations to Adam Frazier. Did well. And then congratulations to Drew Waters, both picking up a World Series championship after leaving the Royals this year. So congratulations to both of them. I'm so glad for them. And congratulations to Cleveland. I guess, next year we're going to be playing the World Series champion. What are we going to do about that? Anyway, we are going to sim through and start the season off. Covered everything, hopefully, in this episode. This episode is over now, and next episode, we're going to be covering the off-season stuff with free agency, with trades, all of that stuff, contracts, all of that stuff will be covered here in the off-season coming up in the next episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit a big thumbs up. Also, feel free to hit that red subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of the Royals Dynasty Rebuild. Till next time, Slacker out.